For weeks now, PlayStation fans have been discussing when the next State of Play event will be, as well as what would be there. All rumors pointed to a State of Play in early June because it makes the most sense. Several other events are already scheduled for this month, such as Summer Game Fest and the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase, so it seemed like only a matter of time before Sony unveiled its next showcase. Now, Sony has announced that date. On Thursday, June 2nd, Sony will host this State of Play featuring 30 minutes of announcements and trailers. A lot can be revealed in 30 minutes, but Sony did outline what fans can expect there, more or less. Unfortunately, that doesn't include first-party titles. Sony promises exciting reveals from the third-party partners, as well as a sneak peek at games in development for PlayStation VR2. This is interesting as, while many expected God of War Ragnarok to be at the next State of Play, this would suggest otherwise. It could be that a second first-party event comes later. It could be that Sony doesn't host one until its next full PlayStation showcase, likely to be in September, or it could be that God of War Ragnarok doesn't take a stage until later this summer. Either way, PSVR2 has been kept under wraps outside of Game War 2, as well as hardware details, so it'll be interesting to see more of what's to come, maybe some more sneak peek at Horizon Call of the Mountain. The silver lining is that the third party here likely refers to Square Enix, among others, and that means the long-awaited Final Fantasy XVI trailer will be there. Perhaps even a release date for it, among a plethora of other reveals. Recent rumors have suggested the game could release this year, and Square Enix has been holding back a trailer for some reason. Needing a stage for it makes the most sense, and there's not a better stage. This firmly fits into Square Enix's promise of more Final Fantasy XVI news as well. It remains to be seen what the other third-party games are, but there are some fans hoping for more news on Hogwarts Legacy. It is currently scheduled to release later this year as well. No matter what, though, with all the events scheduled for next month, we are likely to learn a lot about a ton of games. While there are always expectations and hopes for a State of Play that don't properly get fulfilled, Final Fantasy XVI being there is more concrete than most hopes. First, when Sony says third-party partners, it's hardly closer to any company than Square Enix. Many would not be surprised if Sony acquired Square Enix someday, but that's a whole different ballpark. The most convincing evidence for its presence there comes directly from Square Enix itself though. A Final Fantasy XVI trailer is ready and waiting in the wings. Producer Yoshi P confirmed this a couple of weeks ago, also adding that the game was nearing the end of its development cycle. However, he added that he thought the trailer would release soon but couldn't explain why it wasn't being released yet. Having somewhere to showcase Final Fantasy XVI makes the most sense, and a June 2nd State of Play featuring third-party partners is the most likely scenario for that. Plus, Square Enix promised fans that would get more Final Fantasy XVI news sometime this spring, and with the season ending on June 21st, it's hard to picture FF16 being anywhere else except for this State of Play. What else will be there remains to be seen, but a new Final Fantasy XVI trailer is about as safe of a bet as they come. Beyond the trailer, it'll be interesting to see if FF16's release date will be announced there. There have been rumors that Final Fantasy XVI will release in 2022, and if it's going to confirm a date, or at least a window, this would be the time and place to do so. Another Square Enix title, Forspoken, was delayed not too long ago and is currently slated to release in October. Although the titles are distinct enough, one new rumor has suggested that these two games might be connected in an odd circumstance. A recent leak insists that Forspoken could be delayed again. Given it's one of the few games currently releasing in October, that would be unfortunate, but there's a stipulation attached. It seems Square Enix will only delay Forspoken under the condition it can release Final Fantasy XVI instead. The fear on Square Enix's end would probably be Final Fantasy XVI cannibalizing Forspoken's sales if it releases both of them too closely. After all, as promising and intriguing as Forspoken is for a new IP, there's a reason this is the 16th numbered Final Fantasy game. Fans love them, and if the new title were to release in 2022, that would be a huge game for Square Enix. Overall, this puts Final Fantasy XVI and Forspoken into an odd boat together. Some have taken this rumor in bad faith, thinking it means that Forspoken would release in a buggy state if Square Enix can't release Final Fantasy XVI instead. While understandable, sales seem to be the likelier reason, not that Forspoken wouldn't be ready for release. It all remains to be seen, of course, but if this is the move Square Enix makes, we can probably expect to learn more about it relatively soon. Square Enix has promised that 2022 is to be a big year for the Final Fantasy franchise. It marks the 35th anniversary of the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole, and multiple milestone anniversaries for various entries in the long-running franchise. One such anniversary is the 25th for Final Fantasy VII, the 1997 PlayStation title that is remembered today as one of the most important Japanese role-playing games ever made. In 2020, the game received a reimagining in the form of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and now the game's co-director has promised a big reveal for the original's anniversary this month. Square Enix promised that the company's plans for 2022 would largely center around the milestone anniversary, which include the already released Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, a reimagining of the very first game in the series. Square Enix is currently supporting the MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV and preparing the next mainline game, Final Fantasy XVI, for release. However, it appears there is more to come from the series. Final Fantasy VII Remake's co-director, Tetsuya Nomura, teased during a livestream for the mobile game Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier that new information will be revealed this month regarding Final Fantasy VII's 25th anniversary. Nomura did not clarify what this information would pertain to, however it is likely regarding both Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, an upcoming mobile game based on the events of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII and is confirmed to release this September, and the next installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 has been teased multiple times throughout 2022, with producer Yoshinori Kaitase most recently confirming that there will be an official announcement of the game this year. Last year, Tetsuya Nomura confirmed that he would not be attached to the sequel as a director as he continues development on the recently announced Kingdom Hearts 4. Last year, Square Enix released Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which featured a DLC story centered around Yuffie Kisaragi that set the stage for the sequel. Since Intergrade's release, Square Enix has openly discussed its plans to reveal the sequel sometime in 2022, with a release planned shortly after. The reason the game has not yet been announced yet is likely due to Final Fantasy XVI, which is currently finalizing development. I would also like to see a tease for Resident Evil 4 Remake with PSVR2 support, and also Resident Evil Village on VR. We have several exciting news about PSVR2, about its launch games and launch window. We will discuss it later on the Sony Gaming and Network Services segment breakdown in another video after the State of Play. For now, I have some more predictions and leaks for the State of Play. One Capcom game, in particular, is commonly being brought up. That game is Street Fighter VI, the sequel to the industry's most successful fighting game franchise. It's believed that Capcom will take the opportunity PlayStation is offering to fully unveil Street Fighter VI during the event. The could reveal gameplay for Street Fighter VI on EVO, but a trailer here would be big. Street Fighter VI has already been officially announced, of course. A short cinematic teaser trailer was released in February featuring Ryu and Luke, who debuted in Street Fighter V, as well as the game's logo. Street Fighter VI wasn't necessarily a secret, however. The massive Capcom leak from 2020 showed that Street Fighter VI was tentatively planned to launch in Q3 FY 2022. A reveal of Street Fighter VI is coming soon, clearly, so it's just a matter of when. If Street Fighter VI does get shown off, there's a major question that will need to be answered alongside it. Street Fighter V is a PlayStation console exclusive. It launched on PC and PS4 and hasn't been ported to other platforms since. The Capcom leak implied Street Fighter VI would be coming to different platforms, but a reveal during PlayStation's State of Play would hint otherwise. It's unclear what other event would make sense for Capcom to reveal Street Fighter VI at this point. The Summer Game Fest live show is on June 9th and will host a variety of major publishers. Xbox's show is on June 12th, but it'd be shocking for Capcom to jump over to PlayStation's competitor. A Capcom event could be announced yet, but seems unlikely. The PlayStation State of Play seems primed for a Street Fighter VI announcement, though fighting game fans will just have to wait and see. Other showing I have been hopeful for is a release date reveal for Stray and Little Devil Inside. Blue 12 Studio made waves for PlayStation's fans when the developer revealed Stray in 2020 as an adventure game about controlling a cat in a sci-fi/cyberpunk world. While the Stray has seen numerous delays since its initial reveal 2 years ago, publisher Annapurna Interactive previously reassured fans that the game's launch was still set for sometime this year, with recent reports suggesting the game may release this summer. Now, a new update to PlayStation's internal database may have just revealed the highly anticipated game's final release date. Set to release as a PlayStation console-exclusive title, Stray throws players into a world of robots and advanced technology, with players adventuring around the game's stylized world as a furry feline. Partnered with a drone for accomplishing various tasks, players will roam around the city, solving puzzles and avoiding would-be predators, with the game often taking advantage of the smaller size of its protagonist to create unique puzzles like crawling through air ducts and platforming across the city. Now, with rumors swirling about the game's release window, the PlayStation database seems to suggest the game will be coming in just a couple of months. A recent update to PlayStation's database reported by popular PlayStation content aggregator PlayStation GameSize on Twitter shows Stray as having a release date finally set for July 19th of this year, with an 8 a.m. Pacific Time launch time. While the account is quick to remind excited fans that the date could just be a placeholder within PlayStation's database, the July date would line up with the rumored summer 2022 release window, following a previous confirmation from Sony delaying the game from its early 2022 launch window. While Stray seems to be on track to finally reveal a long-awaited release date, the cat game has seen a bumpy road making it to the finish line. Following its initial reveal in summer of 2020, the game was pushed back its initial October 2021 release window into 2022 and then saw further delays from its previously mentioned launch in early 2022. Stray has experienced its fair share of setbacks during its nearly 2-year-long development, but a confirmed release date likely means Wes won't have to wait much longer to dive into the cyberpunk world and its adorable feline perspective. Other predictions are maybe an in-engine trailer for Pragmata and the DLC reveal for RE8. I hope the state of play would be good, but the PlayStation Showcase is where we're gonna get the big fishes. June is a huge month of celebration for video games. There are tons of showcases happening, and there are plenty to look forward to for the whole month. This year, Summer Game Fest returns to unite the entire video game industry and community for a summer celebration featuring digital events, demos, announcements, and news for fans all over the world. Summer Game Fest began in May 2020 in response to the pandemic and is looked forward to by fans hoping to hear news about their favorite games. Each year, the event releases previews about different games, developers, and assets that will be featured in the various events for the summer, with last year's show creating extreme hype. This year is no different, as Summer Game Fest released a look at over 30 partners that will be taking part in the event, promising a long list of games that will be featured as well. EA, 2K, PlayStation, Netflix, Sega, Xbox, Steam, Capcom, and Epic Games are just a few of the major partners that are confirmed to make an appearance during this year's Summer Game Fest. Fans can look forward to hearing announcements and news related to these big game studios as the different events progress throughout June. The tweet assures that the stream will be live this June and that more announcements and details are to follow. Getting Canadian video game journalist Jeff Keithley to announce and eventually kick off Summer Game Fest after E3 was cancelled is one of the reasons that fans are excited for the event. There is sure to be buzz around the first and third-party developers that are going to be taking part in the digital event, and fans will be keeping their fingers crossed for news that they have been hoping to hear for months on end. The previous Summer Game Fest is marked down as a successful event, featuring some wonderful announcements and demos, though there is always room for improvement. Fans are hoping for more of the same, with perhaps less back and forth between developers that doesn't quite pertain to the players as much. Though a fully digital event isn't always as exciting as an E3 or something of similar caliber, this year's Summer Game Fest will be in select IMAX theaters, which will allow the community to come together and watch the event conjointly. Fans have a lot to look forward to as the list of developers and partners continues to grow, promising some exciting announcements, demos, events, and reveals. And the upcoming State of Play is also a part of the Summer Game Fest. In other words, Jeff Keithley just capitalized on the downfall of E3, and if E3 next year cannot make a comeback, it will be gone forever. God of War Ragnarok is easily the most anticipated game of the year, but little has been shown so far. It's been extra quiet as of late, and in this period of hard, heavy-hitting delays, it's understandable if some were worried about the God of War sequel becoming a 2023 title. Santa Monica itself has said, last month, that the game is on track, but of course, actions speak louder than words. Interestingly enough, there have been a couple of recent developments and actions that lend themselves to God of War Ragnarok releasing in 2022. It could potentially even narrow it down to August and September. While some may be confused why Sony doesn't release it in a more popular time, say October or November, this actually fits in with its typical release pattern. It's not concrete proof of an August or September release date, but it's a pretty good hint. The major thing is that God of War Ragnarok has broken its silence. While it's not uncommon for a game that's far away to share tidbits here and there, a game being silent in the months prior to release is an intentional strategy. It means devs are hard at work, and that work must continue when they begin speaking about the game. Marketing has essentially begun for God of War Ragnarok, and that's a good sign. Not too long ago, God of War Ragnarok revealed its accessibility suite of 60+ features. Unsurprisingly, accessibility has been a huge priority for Sony Santa Monica with God of War Ragnarok. In a new blog post, lead UX designer Mila Pavlin dove into the details of what players can expect, including the confirmation that the studio has redesigned the UI for more flexibility and readability, but completely rebuilt the controller mapping from the ground up. For those looking to really customize their experience, God of War Ragnarok has over 60 different accessibility settings that can be adjusted or modified. First and foremost, the PC-specific features from God of War have been added into Ragnarok, including auto sprint, aim style, block style, as well as options to reduce motion sickness. Captions and subtitles have been improved to allow for adjustable text size as well as text color. In-game sound can also be toggled to appear as text, and speaker names can be shown or hidden as needed. Captions can also be utilized to assist in critical gameplay moments, providing information for things like puzzles and narrative understanding. Text and icon size are fully customizable, including scaling options. Players can also enable a high contrast mode, allowing colors to be applied to in-game targets, characters, enemies, and more, as well as desaturating the background if needed. This helps make items, loot, special effects, and characters more visible. According to the post, this is also just the tip of the iceberg, as the final version will have plenty more for players to toggle if they need it. The focus on accessibility isn't anything new for first-party Sony games. In fact, earlier this year, Horizon Forbidden West had a similar reveal prior to its launch in February. Players had ultimate control over Aloy's journey, with tons of customizable settings from permanent climbing annotations, auto-healing, and tons more. Towards the end of the last generation of consoles, quite a few first-party games and some third-party titles started to include a few more accessibility features as a standard. While games have had subtitle options for quite a while now, games like The Last of Us and its sequel showed gamers that accessibility features can come from a wide variety of places like audio description, colorblind modes, and swapping QTEs for button holds. Recent innovations such as the Xbox Adaptive Controller go a long way in keeping the hobby inclusive, and if developers can create their titles with accessibility in mind, then it only serves to benefit every party involved. In recent games like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Horizon Forbidden West, and Far Cry 6, accessibility features have been a core aspect that doesn't detract from the experience at all, but adds so much for those that require them. The more accessibility features a game includes, the wider its audience will be, so it's a win-win for everyone. Players are able to see how some of God of War Ragnarok's accessibility features work, but some also noticed how much better God of War Ragnarok looked on the graphics front. It's clear that everything is much more defined. The materials on Atreus' clothing, the detail sculpting his head, Kratos' clothing and musculature, the general definition of the whole scene, and the crispness of the background all stand out within just a few seconds. Obviously, this wasn't expected or intended to be a deep dive into God of War Ragnarok's graphics, but it does bode well for the game at large given how much improvement is in these scenes. The very important info for me from the latest update is that there is a new icon found in the little video shown for accessibility. This icon seems to be like a bear claw, and is replaced instead for Faye's palm from God of War 4. As the journey marked by Faye was ended in Jotunheim at the highest peak in all the realms, it makes sense that Faye's palm icon will not be there anymore. But the bear palm symbol is an interesting one, where we should focus on it carefully. In the God of War lore and Legends novel, Kratos has been related to a bear clan, so the icon could indicate the clan or Kratos himself. Or it could be Fenrir's poem. We have to wait and see. This news just broke the internet, just a 3-second footage of Kratos walking towards a door and the famous icon. Multiple theories are being made with this alone. Imagine how much content is gonna be there in Ragnarok, and the theories are gonna be insane. However, this accessibility features reveal on World Accessibility Day was followed by one more development. The official ratings board for South Korea has rated God of War Ragnarok, indicating the game could be approaching the end of its development. South Korea's Game Rating and Administration Committee has issued God of War Ragnarok the agency's highest rating, the 18 rating, which prohibits youths from the game. The 18 rating was issued based on 3 different qualities. First, God of War Ragnarok features excessive violence in the form of blood and damage performed with realistic weapons including knives and axes during battle. Suffice to say, God of War Ragnarok is going to be like prior God of War games in terms of violence. Second, God of War Ragnarok features excessive vulgarity and profanity throughout the game. God of War featured a significant amount of dialogue, and it sounds like God of War Ragnarok will as well. Only this time around, one or more characters appear to curse quite a bit. Specific words mentioned include fuck for what it's worth. It should be noted that 2018's God of War was also flagged for strong language by the ESRB in the United States, so this isn't necessarily an oddity. Lastly, South Korea tagged God of War Ragnarok for direct drug expression. In God of War Ragnarok, players will apparently experience characters drinking alcohol in pubs. These kinds of ratings typically involve the consumption of alcohol, as opposed to just the presence. Whether it's significant to God of War Ragnarok's story remains to be seen. While the details of God of War Ragnarok's rating in South Korea are intriguing on their own, the bigger story is that the game is far enough along in development to receive a rating. Ratings don't mean that a game is finished, of course. But ratings do show that the game's publisher is taking a significant step toward release. An interesting comparison is Horizon Forbidden West, which launched 3 months after receiving its rating in South Korea. Of course, Horizon Forbidden West's release date had been announced months prior to it receiving a rating, too. Interestingly, there is an icon indicating that there could be sex scenes involved in this game. God of War is also known for its many sex games, but the last iteration skipped it. Considering the fact that we will visit Valhalla in Ragnarok, it is obvious that they could include those kinds of mini-games. Anyway, it's good. Of course, the next big question is when fans will know for sure. If God of War Ragnarok is releasing in September and marketing is picking up, then a release date plus new trailer announcement has to be soon. There are recent images we got from the official God of War Ragnarok merchandise which also indicate that it is releasing in September. However, I don't expect any announcement in this state of play. Maybe it could be at the Summer Game Fest, or PlayStation may hold a dedicated state of play.
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answers soon enough. Well, some of them.
The big Star Wars Celebration event has seen all kinds of exciting announcements and reveals, like the confirmation that The Mandalorian Season 3 will premiere in February 2023 on Disney+. However, the latest reveal from the event should be especially exciting for gamers, as Electronic Arts, Respawn Entertainment, and Lucasfilm Games have officially announced Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to the popular 2019 game Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Survivor once again sees Stig Asmussen, the director of God of War 3, at the helm as game director, with fan favorite Cal Kestis returning as the main character. Set 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Kestis and his droid companion BD-1 are still on the run from the Empire. The cinematic trailer helps set up the plot, with the Empire getting its hands on Cal's lightsaber. Kestis then finds a mysterious character suspended in what appears to be a Bacta tank, which is something that Star Wars characters use to heal throughout the franchise. Fans will have to wait for a later date for the questions raised by the Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer to be answered. While the game lacks a specific release date, it has been confirmed that Star Wars Jedi Survivor will launch at some point in 2023, so Star Wars fans can expect more information on the game and Cal Kestis' next adventure in the months ahead. Not much was revealed about Star Wars Jedi Survivor from a gameplay standpoint beyond that Cal will be needing to learn new skills and tap into new Force powers for this next adventure. It was confirmed, however, that Star Wars Jedi Survivor will be current-gen only, meaning it's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X while skipping PS4 and Xbox One entirely, but the Series S will definitely hold it back. This should ensure that the game is a significant leap forward from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in terms of graphics and performance, so it will be interesting to see how the final product turns out. In an interview published on the official Star Wars website, game director Stig Asmussen touched on some of the next-gen benefits fans can look forward to when Star Wars Jedi Survivor arrives. This will include ray tracing and fast loading. Asmussen also briefly mentioned the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller, revealing that the development team is digging into the DualSense's unique capabilities, like haptic feedback. This Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel is set 5 years after the original, meaning Cal has likely grown in strength as a Jedi Knight. Of course, despite confirming a few details like Star Wars Jedi Survivor's release window, this trailer only really serves as a teaser. The Inquisitor with a red lightsaber who Cal fights remains a mystery, but perhaps the biggest is the Bacta tank. Immediately after the trailer, many began to question who this character was who is in the Bacta tank. Bacta tanks are nothing new in the Star Wars universe, but the character being in one suggests a few things. Book of Boba Fett fans know that Fett had to constantly revisit one to heal his body's injuries, and so does characters like Darth Vader. It doesn't seem this character frequently leaves this Bacta tank, however, it seems they've been there for some time, following some unknown injury. Sharp-eyed fans are able to notice a few details that may flesh out who this character is. The scene cuts immediately to the Bacta tank, and Cal looking in, after the line "What is your next move, Jedi?" is uttered. Whoever this is, they are implied to be a Jedi. He has long white hair, almost akin to Sephiroth, and a few markings on his skin. He is first teased early in the trailer, so whoever he is, he's clearly important to the story of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. One leading theory, although with a few holes, is that this is Taron Malikas. Players encounter this former Jedi on Dathomir in the original game, and while he is severely injured and presumed dead, that doesn't mean much in the Star Wars universe. It could be that Taron was placed into a Bacta tank sometime after, while spending 5 years in there would explain the hair growth. On the other hand, the markings on this Jedi's body don't really line up with Taron's. Furthermore, while Taron could be redeemed, it seems odd to put so much focus on this relatively minor character in the first game. So while physically there's an argument that could be made, it's not likely Taron in full. In fact, he doesn't really look like any known Star Wars character, but he could be one renewed. The most likely scenario is that this is a new character in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He may be a character out of time, seemingly having been in the Bacta tank for a while, and he may be an older Jedi. He could be from the Clone Wars, if not before, really depending on a lot of factors. It's not known how long someone can survive in a Bacta tank, so this could be a truly old Jedi Cal discovers. There are some rumors that Star Wars Jedi Survivor will feature 2 playable characters, and if not Marin, then it seems that this Jedi would likely be a contender. It's even plausible that this is the Survivor better referenced by the subtitle than Cal, although the trailer has set up that particular angle to focus on Cal. Either way, the most likely scenario is that this is a new character. On the other hand, it would be interesting if this was Respawn's way of introducing an old legend into Star Wars canon. Several shows have done this, and it would only be right for a game to do so as well. This would give Respawn a lot of freedom, while also giving fans some familiarity as long as Respawn didn't venture too far from the character's roots. Perhaps, while this may be too much to ask for, this character could be a new version of Star Wars The Force Unleashed Starkiller to serve as Cal's new rival. It could tie Starkiller into the Inquisitors, and Vader deciding against rebelling against the Emperor would explain why he was confined to a Bacta tank. However, the looks don't fit, and that would be a big change on Respawn's part. If it is an old legend reborn, he bears a ton of similarities to Joro Esqueoth. He was a Force user who wielded the dark side but wasn't really evil, instead suffering from a mental disorder. The Bacta tank would make sense in this context, and it would be an interesting introduction. Nonetheless, for those wondering who is in the Bacta tank in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the safest bet is a brand new character. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's combat is a great representation of lightsabers, but there are areas for improvement. Beyond Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's features such as the posture system, a parrying system, and so on, it does come down to button mashing. Certain combos require less input, but overall, it's not the deepest dive possible for Jedi combat. So, when Asmussen references more stances for combat, that sounds like introducing a proper system for the various lightsaber styles in universe. How and if proper lightsaber styles are introduced into the game remains to be seen, but they cover a wide style of combat scenarios that could inject more immersion and choices into Star Wars Jedi's lightsaber combat. Form 1 SHIHO, for example, is the oldest form focused on non-lethal combat and disarming multiple foes, as often used by Padawans. Form 2 Makashi is a style designed for lightsaber duels, fitted for agile and elegant combat against a single target. It focused on single enemies, avoiding disbarment, and precise strikes. This form was seen by Count Dooku in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Form 3 Sorisu, meanwhile, is a defensive style of combat, focused on controlled movement and wearing down foes by offering an impenetrable defense. Several Jedi, or even Sith, use Sorisu in some form, adapting it to their own combat, such as Yoda, Windu, Luminara, Darth Vader, and even Luke. Form 4 was known as Ataru, a dexterous, acrobatic, and aggressive style of lightsaber combat. Users would often use the Force to enhance their movements and was capable of controlling the battlefield across all directions. It put a ton of pressure on Jedi physically and through the Force, as these Jedi would prove to be very aggressive. As a Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker used a personal form of Ataru and would adapt it over his lifetime, with the Grand Inquisitor, Ezra Bridger, and Qui-Gon Jinn using it as well. Form 5 Shurin/Gemso was another demanding style, as it required Jedi to quickly transition between maneuvers. It fluctuated heavily from defensive maneuvers similar to Sorisu and aggressive attacks like Ataru. Shurin variants would redirect blaster fire utilizing a reverse blade grip, while Gemso variants focused more on saber maneuvers. Ahsoka Tano is a known user of the Shurin variant. Form 6 Naiman is a balanced style and natural evolution from Form I, focused on balance within combat scenarios. It was the most common style, often used by any nondescript Jedi in the movies. It balanced offense, defense, and the Force. Form 7 was once outlawed by Jedi, as it required a master control of emotions. It tapped into anger, more befitting of a Sith than a Jedi, and some believe this style even led some Jedi to the dark side of the Force. Because of this, it's one of the rarest styles with two variants, Juyo and Vapad, with Windu developing the Vapad method of Form 7. Jarkai is the final variant, used by Jedi using two single-bladed or up to two double-bladed lightsabers, multi-armed Jedi being the prime example, as well as Darth Maul and Cal Kestis when dual-wielding. While it remains to be seen how, or if, these appear in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it would do well to expand the posture system. Choosing a style for certain combat methods to fit the situation could increase how much Cal impacts an opponent's posture. Perhaps using or overusing Form 7 could influence a new dark side system in the game, or switch to Sorisu against powerful enemies to protect Cal's posture. Choosing Makashi for duels or Ataru against several enemies at once would go a long way in variety for Cal Kestis combat. Cal Kestis would remain the star of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but that there would be a new playable character. Until EA or Respawn Entertainment confirms this themselves, it's best to think of Cal as the main protagonist. This comment, if true, could theoretically pertain to small gameplay segments like BD1 puzzles or something like that. At the same time, it would be interesting if it were some form of shared progression between Cal Kestis as a Jedi Knight with a new Padawan of his. Training Marin to be a Jedi, and letting Marin be playable in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, would likely be a popular move among fans of the franchise. Not only would Marin be a non-traditional Jedi, but she and Cal would likely have a non-traditional Jedi-Padawan relationship. Very little has been said about Star Wars Jedi Survivor as yet, but one detail that developer Respawn Entertainment did share was where the game fell on the Star Wars timeline. That could prove to be a relatively innocuous detail, something for Star Wars fans to chew on absent other information. Or, it could imply a connection that would have fans of both the Star Wars video games and Star Wars shows hungry for what could be a major Obi-Wan Kenobi Star Wars crossover opportunity. To start, it's perhaps best to establish where both the newly announced Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and its prequel Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order fall on the overall Star Wars timeline. Those that have played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order understand it revolves around a key event in Star Wars history, Order 66. Cal Kestis is a survivor of Order 66, an executive order branding all Jedi as traitors to the Galactic Empire and subject to summary execution. This Jedi purge occurred in the in-universe year of 19 BBY. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order doesn't happen in 19 BBY, however. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order occurs 5 years after Order 66 and the Jedi Purge in year 14 BBY. Cal has been in hiding, but mistakenly uses his powers and becomes a target of the Empire and its Inquisitors. Needless to say, Cal survives his ordeals but is left with an ambiguous future, setting up the events of what's now known to be Star Wars Jedi Survivor. There's obviously a lot yet to be revealed about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but one detail has already been confirmed by Respawn Entertainment. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is set 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It provided no information regarding what Cal has been up to in those 5 years. All that's confirmed regarding what Cal is currently up to is that he's still on the run and still partnered with BD1. Players will discover the rest for themselves when Star Wars Jedi Survivor launches in 2023. The first episode of the highly anticipated Obi-Wan Kenobi show debuted on Friday on Disney+, with 6 episodes planned for the full season. That leaves a lot of time left for the show to explore what's going on in the Star Wars timeline, offering better references for what's happened so far and what's yet to happen. Luckily, Lucasfilm made it easy on fans and announced when Obi-Wan Kenobi took place in the timeline before the show even started. According to the Star Wars gurus at Disney and Lucasfilm, Obi-Wan Kenobi takes place 10 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. That also places it just after the events of Solo: A Star Wars Story. The timeline announcement wasn't characterized by any additional information. There are no other references available regarding when exactly Obi-Wan Kenobi takes place, but that's also in part because this part of the timeline isn't explored heavily by films or TV shows. There's still enough information to make a significant conclusion regarding the Star Wars timeline, though. Star Wars fans will recall that a major event in Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was none other than the triggering of Order 66. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Order 66, and then Star Wars Jedi Survivor takes place 5 years after that. Both Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Obi-Wan Kenobi are set 10 years after Episode 3 and Order 66. With the Star Wars timeline established and the knowledge that both Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Obi-Wan Kenobi happen in the same time frame, the bigger question is what comes next. Star Wars fans should likely start by managing their expectations. Crossovers between Star Wars media are surprisingly rare, though they've been increasing over time. There's no promise that the two will even lightly reference each other, but it's still very exciting that it's possible. If there will be a crossover, or even a small reference, it's unlikely to happen in Obi-Wan Kenobi. The show has already been filmed and a mention of Cal or some deeper crossover would probably only confuse the show's audience. An Obi-Wan Kenobi cameo or alternative crossover in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, however, makes a lot more sense. For one, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is still actively in development. Even if the possibility of an Obi-Wan Kenobi Easter egg has yet to cross Respawn Entertainment's mind, it still has the time to pitch an idea to Disney and Lucasfilm, get it approved, and make it happen. Further, with Obi-Wan Kenobi wrapping up over the next 6 weeks, Respawn is better positioned to write a crossover that makes sense and preserves canon. As for what the crossover could be, there's a very simple and very exciting answer. Cal believes himself to be one of the last Jedi in the universe and, as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order made clear, is trusting the Force to guide him on his journey. The Force could very easily guide Cal into an encounter with Kenobi. It could be brief and silly, or incredibly meaningful to Cal's journey. The two Jedi never interacting, even with the opportunity presenting itself, would be a missed opportunity. Crossovers in Star Wars are always exciting. Seeing Rosario Dawson in full Ahsoka Tano makeup after years of watching Ahsoka grow up in Star Wars cartoons was special in a rare way. References to the Death Watch and the Night Owls in The Mandalorian rewarded Clone Wars fans for paying attention. A crossover between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars Jedi Survivor may be more difficult to pull off, but the Star Wars games deserve it. I am really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Activision recently confirmed that this year's Call of Duty game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, showing off the game's logo and not much else. Now Activision has revealed proper key art for Modern Warfare 2 using a massive 90,000 square foot advertisement that is supposedly visible from space, while also confirming when exactly the game will be available to the masses. As announced by Activision, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 release date is October 28th. When that date rolls around, Call of Duty fans will be able to jump into a new globe-trotting adventure with the returning Task Force 141, a group comprised of characters who should be familiar to those that played the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot or the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare trilogy of games. Activision confirmed the Task Force 141 members that will be featured in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 come launch on October 28th. The operators will be led by Captain John Price, who will be joined by Simon Ghost Riley, John Soap McTavish, Kyle Gazgarek, and newcomer Colonel Alejandro Vargas, a Mexican Special Forces member. These characters will play key roles in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign, and it's likely that they will be playable in multiplayer as well, though that has not been confirmed yet. With this latest Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 reveal, it seems that the leaks were right that Activision is going to focus on revealing the Modern Warfare 2 campaign first, with more information on the multiplayer and other game modes to come later in the summer. Activision stopped short of revealing exactly when the big Modern Warfare 2 campaign reveal will take place, but reputable leakers have pointed to early June. According to the latest leaks, which fans should take with a grain of salt, the Modern Warfare 2 campaign reveal could happen on June 2nd, at the State of Play, in which the game is said to have an exclusive PSVR2 mode. For years, PlayStation and Activision have had an exclusivity deal when it comes to the Call of Duty franchise. Through this deal, PlayStation gamers have been treated to exclusive content, with entire game modes being timed exclusive to PlayStation consoles in some cases. The upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is expected to continue this trend, even with Microsoft's impending acquisition of Activision Blizzard. It's already been leaked that PlayStation gamers will get first dibs on the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer beta, but it seems as though the PlayStation exclusive perks will extend to the final game itself. According to the latest rumor, it seems that Call of Duty Modern Warfare May 2nd have a game mode that's exclusive to PS5. According to the leak, Infinity Ward is working on a PS5 exclusive game mode for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 that will use the new PlayStation VR2 headset. This new VR mode will supposedly have players taking control of a Tier 1 operator, and it may be announced as early as the State of Play event on June 2nd. Not only that, but it will supposedly be a free download and release around the time that the PlayStation VR2 itself comes out. This is not the first time that Infinity Ward has made a virtual reality project. As some may recall, the Jackal Assault VR experience was released for the original PlayStation VR headset as a companion to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in 2016. Alternatively, the game may be featured at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest on June 9th instead. As spotted by Charlie Intel, the Modern Warfare 2 release date video includes some interesting spray paint on a shipping container. Written in neon green coloring, the paint reads J8-22. While it could be a coincidence, it seems like a pretty obvious hint that the Modern Warfare 2 reveal date is going to be June 8th, meaning fans will get to see the game for themselves in just a matter of days. When the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 reveals start coming, it will be interesting to see which leaks were accurate and which ones were not. There are heavy rumors that Modern Warfare 2 will have a new mode called DMZ that's inspired by Escape from Tarkov, but that is yet to be confirmed. Along with revealing the Modern Warfare 2 release date, Activision confirmed some of the operators that will be featured in the campaign. As the end of the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot suggested, the 2022 take on Modern Warfare 2 will feature the famous Task Force 141, led by Captain John Price. Joining Price, Ghost, and Soap in Modern Warfare 2's Task Force 141 are Kyle Gazgarek and Mexican Special Forces Colonel Alejandro Vargas. While Price, Ghost, Soap, and Gaz have all been featured in previous Call of Duty games, Vargas is a newcomer to the series. Soap's absence from the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot was one of the big complaints that fans had about the game, so it will be great to see him make his return in Modern Warfare 2. In the meantime, it will be interesting to see if the characters' fates are the same in this version of the game as they were in the 2009 original. One of the most infamous moments from the 2009 Modern Warfare 2 game is when General Shepard shoots and kills Ghost and Roach. We know that a General Shepard exists in this rebooted Modern Warfare universe, as he was mentioned in the 2019 game. It's entirely possible that the 2022 version of Modern Warfare 2 sticks to its roots and has Shepard kill Ghost again, but that remains to be seen. After all, Ghost proved to be one of the most popular characters from the 2009 MWII, and one would think Infinity Ward would like to keep him around longer this time to capitalize on that fact. Judging by how the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot was handled, there may be similarities between the 2022 Modern Warfare 2 and the 2009 game, but fans shouldn't expect it to copy missions from the old game or steal exact plot points. Instead, it will most likely tell a completely original story, just with using some characters from the original Modern Warfare trilogy of games. For the past 5 years, Call of Duty fans on PC have had to rely on Blizzard's Battle.net app to purchase the latest games in the series. Starting with Call of Duty Black Ops 4, all games and services for Call of Duty have been Battle.net exclusive for PC to avoid Steam and other storefronts' fees. That may be changing soon, however. There's new evidence indicating that Call of Duty could be coming back to Steam with the upcoming release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Call of Duty fans recently explored the franchise's profile on Steam. While recent Call of Duty games haven't been released through the PC storefront, all games from Call of Duty World War II and back remain available for purchase. At the bottom of this profile was a surprising graphic. It's nothing complicated, just a link back to the Call of Duty franchise portal on Steam. Yet within the image is a piece of art from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, concept art of Simon Ghost Riley. After the art was discovered and shared online in various Call of Duty communities, it was quickly removed and replaced with a blank blue graphic. Without official comment on the matter, there's no way of telling exactly what it means. Obviously, it was uploaded by accident. Whether it was accidentally uploaded too early and indicates a forthcoming Steam release for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, or if the art was used accidentally and it means nothing remains to be seen. The evidence at hand isn't substantial, by any means. There's no confirmation or firm evidence of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 being released on Steam. But what's there is eyebrow-raising, at the very least. A graphic featuring Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 art being uploaded to an official Steam page is no small matter. Call of Duty returning to Steam is not an impossible decision, by any means, but it would be surprising at this moment. What would make sense is if Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard were to complete and then Call of Duty was brought back to Steam. Microsoft has done similar for many of its major game releases in recent memory. But Activision has shown no indication it wants to do so, yet. All Call of Duty fans on PC can do is wait for more information at this point. More Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 news will be coming relatively soon since the game is planned to launch later this year. Steam support wouldn't likely be made into a huge announcement, but it would nevertheless prove meaningful to PC gamers. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.